Welcome, everyone. I'm Darrell Kiernan, and I'm the K-12 English Language Arts Programs Professional with the Nevada Department of Education. For some reason, my camera has turned red, so I'm going to stop that and spare you that. I don't know why it's doing that, but I am so pleased to see all of you here today. I'm going to share my screen and introduce my co-presenter, Judy Stangas. Judy is here with us from Renaissance. She's our project manager on the Renaissance side, and we are so glad to share some family reading tips with you today. I like to start things out with a little bit of research, but I do realize it is also Saturday afternoon, so I'm not going to belabor it and bore you too much, okay? But I want to share just a couple of research bits with you. And I have the citation here if you are interested. I want to start with this research bit that we know from research that when students can choose their reading materials, they're more likely to read. That's probably not new information to you, but I thought you would like to have some confirmation from the literature that says that we know that that is true and that choice is key to motivation. We also know as families, as educators, that to raise the volume of reading outside the school day, students have to have access to texts. And that's where MyON comes in. All of you have home libraries, there are school libraries, there are local libraries, but MyON is just another way to increase access to texts. It's available to students pre-K to 12 in our state, 24 hours a day through their accounts with Clever. And so we are happy to share with you a little bit more about that today. So in thinking about volume of reading, I pulled this from the Scholastic website, and in a bit, I'll put this in our chat, the link. You know, we know volume of reading matters, but this chart reminds us that it also matters not only in terms of motivation, but it matters in terms of achievement. So what this chart shows us is the percentile for achievement in relation to minutes of reading per day, and then it translates that into words read per year. And so in a very simplified way of saying it, the more that students read, the better their achievement over time. Okay, so with that grounding of research, I am going to turn it over to Judy, and she's going to do a little bit of work, and then I'll bring us back to the website in a little bit that you see here to give you a tour of what's available in terms of additional resources for families. So I've stopped sharing, Judy, and I'm going to let you take the helm now.
Okay, how's that go? We're a little bit delayed here, but I'm trying. Okay, so kind of the first thing I want to do is I just want to ask, okay, so if you wouldn't mind just typing in the chat real quickly, whether you're a teacher, an educator, or whether you're a family that is attending today. So if you could just take a moment and let me know in the chat. Okay, so it looks like we're educators, librarian, teacher. Okay, so I want to kind of just make this session relevant to you and how to share information with families. So when you're starting to think about students and the ability to read from home, whether it be in virtual school or whether it be on their own doing independent reading, what a great tool that MyON is. Based on that, just a reminder that when students access it from home, they're going to go through Clever. to be able to get to MyON. So they're familiar with that at school already, but just as a reminder to parents, when you're working with them, something that historically that I did in the school district I was in was we sometimes had family nights where we brought families into the library and allowed them to sit alongside their student then in the library and show them how they got onto MyON, how they got to books while we were present to be able to help answer some of those questions. So thinking about that as you're working with families and students, to be able to enjoy doing independent reading from home, but also to find resources that they can use to for their learning, for those curricular connections. So think about it as it's well over 6,000 books that we're sending home with students every night. They have it all weekend, they have it over breaks, they have it over the summer. So it's really exciting to be able to share with them. And I apologize, there's a bunch of, how's that go? Ambulances, fire trucks, I don't know what all going on outside there. So I apologize for that interruption. Anyhow, as we get those students engaged in reading, as you know, we talked about earlier, when they read more, they can make those curricular connections. They have the resources at home as well as at school. It allows them to quickly get into MyON and find, again, something for pleasure or something to support their learning in the classroom. So when students log in, they always come again immediately to their dashboard. Here, they'll see the last book they opened so they can quickly get back into it. They're going to see a reader meter, so it's going to show them the time spent reading. It's a great place for students to go and monitor, but also for families to look at and see how much the student has read in combination of what they're reading at school inside of MyON and what they're reading at home. It gives them that little reader meter. They can look at the week or they can look at the month. So it really gives them a way to jump in and just kind of look and see where that student is, how many books they've finished, how many pages they've read, some of that kind of information. If they have been assigned any projects by the teacher, that will also be reflected here. So if they have something that's been assigned to them and they need to be working on, it's always nice to make the parents aware that the students would work on those projects by going in and clicking on their status button. If they go in and take a look at that and click on the status button, the parent can see as well as the child what they've finished, what they haven't started yet, what the instructions are inside of that project that's been assigned. They could have projects assigned by several different teachers. They could have projects assigned by maybe something from the librarian. They may have something from some kind of a specialist that's working with the student, a literacy coach, special ed, resource room teacher, in addition to their regular teacher. But they may even also have some things from maybe from fine arts or from music or one of those other places. I mean, there's lots and lots of different books in here that support different types of content, literally including all the 9 content areas that students are in. So again, that's under projects. Again, just at a quick glance, the ability to see what they've finished, what they've done, what they've not done. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to the dashboard. And again, as we scroll down, it's going to say, because you read, there might be some other books that you are interested in reading. Just a reminder, there are books in English and in Spanish. So about 10% of the books are written in both languages. But if the students are from a family that is multilingual, it allows them to share that literacy time with their parents if their parents are Spanish speaking only. They could go in and look at the Spanish book and then go look at the English book. So again, just a reminder that that's there. Recommended for you is just some books based on what they've been reading, kind of like that Netflix thing, where they can go in based on books that they've been interested in or they've been reading. It will recommend other books for them. And then also other books that they've recently opened. So if they wanted, they couldn't remember the title of it, but they were something they were looking at, they can quickly get back to it by other books recently opened. So those things are just on that front dashboard. If then they need more, you go to the library. We always think that the best place for students to go is to their recommended button. Underneath the recommended button, if they have taken their Lexile placement exam and or benchmarks, and they have a Lexile, it recommends books in their range. If they haven't taken those, it will still give them grade level appropriate range for the grade that they are in. But we like the students to go to the recommended button. So as they go to recommended reading, they're going to go down, they're going to see top picks, they're going to see books in your ZPD. And again, that's that grade level in the right range. If the teachers have or librarians have put any bundles in, then those would show next. And then because you read, each one of these are carousels. So you'll always see that little blue button up there at the top where they can carousel through and find something that they're interested in reading. As they continue down, it's going to be books popular in your grade. And then this is a bookshelf that I really like. It's called Because I Like. This is where you can go find books on the fly. So whether it be in the classroom or whether it be at home, they can jump in and say, because I like, they can drop down and maybe going in and I want to find something. I'm working as a parent with my child. I want them to go in and we're working on shapes and counting. It's a pre-K student. I could say, okay, I'm interested in shapes. Right away now, it's going to bring me up all kinds of books about shapes. Maybe I'm an older student and I'm in here and I love dinosaurs. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go in and I'm going to click dinosaurs. Right away, I get a whole range of books about dinosaurs. Again, these are carousels. I can go through them, look for books. And then the bottom bookshelf is books in, here's where I can say in English or in Spanish. So if I'm specifically looking for books in Spanish, I can choose that and that bottom bookshelf will change to Spanish. And I can again do that on the fly. I can choose English and or Spanish on that bottom bookshelf. Here is a great place for kids to go when they're out of school, they're reading for pleasure, and they can go in and they can start reading. It gives them choice. They can find something they're interested in. Again, these books will have then the typical navigation inside of the book itself. I'm just going to pick something real simple. We'll do Pony Brushes His Teeth for a small student. If I'm going to go in and read it, I've already started this book, but I'm going to continue it. Again, just a reminder that these have scaffolding. So very much like an adult or a parent reading to a child. It's not digitized voices, it's read by human actors. So it's read with expression. It is different voices. It's male, female, young, old, some with accents. As they go in and they start reading it.
Pony eats a lot each day, just like his dad.
So you can see as it's reading it highlights the sentence. And as it reads each word, it highlights the word in the sentence. So again, it just allows the student then typical navigation. If they want to re-listen to the page, they can just hit the little play button over on the left, which is the typical navigation. If they want to read it on their own and they don't want the sound, they can always turn the sound off and mute it. So it gives them that capability as well. They can go back. If they just want to go back a little ways, they can go back and re-listen to something. It over here on the right-hand side, these little buttons, this one shows them where they're at in the book, which page. So it just kind of gives them an idea where they're at in the book. Then, of course, they can zoom in and zoom out. If you have a student that maybe has a sight impairment and needs the words to be larger, sometimes in those graphic novels where the writing's a little bit too small, they could come in here and zoom it in and be able to, you know, move through it that way as well. And then the next button over is full screen. And the last one is they can favorite it and put it in their own list. So one of the choices when we move out of here will be their own list. Other things that are available inside of a book are other pages. These are other resources that might be great for kids. So if we go to other pages, in this case, it has the copyright information. There is a dictionary. They can either look up a word or they can click on a word and it will automatically open it up in the dictionary. We have what we call literacy tools. So under here, we're going to have a combination of highlighter, paintbrush, sticky notes, shapes, those kinds of things that they can use inside of the book itself. If it's younger students, I may have them highlighting their sight word. If it's older students, I may want them to identify the main character in the book. If they're doing research, if they're like middle school, and I want them to go in and they're doing research and it's a chapter book, I may want them to highlight some of the key information that they are going to use in writing a summary about what they read or what they're researching. So it gives them that capability to use it in a lot of different ways. And they also can always journal. So they always can come in and journal. They can add, you know, what the topic is. We'll do magnets here. Maybe we're doing some study on magnets. I can make a section called magnets. And then now I can go in and I can type. I can copy and paste from a book, and I can add a citation. So as they're learning to cite work, they can always get the citation as well. If they want to get rid of something, they don't want this anymore, they can always put it in the trash can. So it gives them that choice. They also have access to this journal if they're doing writing or doing something inside of a project. So I just wanted to make you aware of what the buttons are up and down the right-hand side. I'm going to pause there just for a second and see if there's any questions so far. Okay, seeing none come up on the chat, I'm just going to go ahead and talk a little bit about the other pieces that are here. So students also can get to the browse button. This is just like as if I walked into a library. The first ones are recommended based kind of on what they've been reading, what kids their age have been reading in their Lexile range or band. Now under browse, it's like being in a full library. So I came in and I want to look for something that I'm studying in science. I can go to science and then I'm going to see those subcategories. So for parents to understand that it's like a full library and that they can go and get information, they can come in and now we're doing something with seasons and weather. So the student needs a resource for seasons and weather to do their homework. Now parents now can help them go in the browse button, or the student themselves can go into the browse button, click on seasons and weather, and there's 192 books. But guess what? It's not necessarily all in the range that they can read and understand. So just like going into a regular library, going in, being able to find the book that they will be able to read and understand, yet slightly challenging them. I could go in and click on this little filter over here on the left. And now I can choose fiction, nonfiction, or graphic novels. It gives me a little bit of thing to there. But I also can click on any book and look at the info button. And now I can see, okay, this is kindergarten through 4th grade. This is what the Lexile is. How does that compare to my Lexile? just gives a little bit of information about the book. So is this something that I want to read? Or do I want to add it to my list? I can do that too. But then I can just jump right into the book. And then I can start the book and start reading. So again, it is just a way to go in to the full library and look by category. If I have saved books to my list, maybe I found a book that I'd really like to read, but I don't have time right now. So I can save it to my list and then I can go back and find it later. Then again, just like as if I was on a bookshelf, I can click on that and start reading it. You'll also see that there are some ways that they can put their books in little bundles over on the left-hand side. So if they want to organize their books, they want to put some in there for science, some in there for math, some of their ones in there for just fun, they can do that as well by building little bundles over here on the side. And then the very last piece is the search engine. So if a student is looking for a specific kind of book, I'll go back to my magnets here. If I'm looking for books about magnets, I can go in, I can do the search. Again, it's going to get books across the library. If I want to make sure that it's in my Lexile range, I can click the little Lexile button. And if I know I'm in the 500s, and again, I could have seen that back on my homepage in my little dashboard. But if I click on 500 and hit the search again, it's only going to give me the 5 books that are in my Lexile band. So it gives me that capability of narrowing that search to books that I should be able to read and understand. It does slightly challenge them. It's like 100 points below to 50 points above their Lexile band. So it is going to be books that, again, they can read and understand and slightly challenge. This does not prevent a student from listening to a book that is about content that is a book that they haven't quite grasped the vocabulary yet, as an example, and they want to go in and listen to it. They can still listen to the book, probably absorb some of that content about the specific subject, even though they might not be able to read the book by themselves and totally understand it by just reading it with no voice. But by listening to it, that also is going to help grow their vocabulary as well and their fluency. So it doesn't prevent them from being limited to just the books in their range. If I turned that Lexile band back off and redid the search and went to all 17 books, I may go in and choose a book that is above where I'm at. I still can listen to it. I can still go through it. It's still going to have that scaffolding. As it's reading it to me, it's still going to highlight the sentence and the word. I can pause it at any time and go to the dictionary and look up a word, do those types of things if a book is above where my Lexile level is. It also doesn't prevent students from listening to books that are way below. If they're really passionate about something, I'll use the dinosaur example. If they're really passionate about dinosaurs and want to read about dinosaurs, if the book is below, it's still for pleasure. I, for one, am not above reading a Nora Roberts book. And guess what? It's written in a low Lexile. It's because it's so that a larger audience is able to read it, even though the content wouldn't be appropriate for a student. It still is at a lower Lexile. So again, just keep in mind when they go to the library, the books below, books above is still all possible. It literally is like walking into a full library and having all those books at their hands. And again, it's 24/7. They can get to it from home, over the weekend, those kinds of things. But we also have some fun resources that are for families. So you as educators can get to those resources and see them, and then it will help you when you're communicating, it includes letters to go home and other things like that to help families get onto MyON from home. Again, just a reminder that in the state of Nevada, the majority of them get on through Clever. So on that note, I'm going to stop again and ask if there's any questions.
We are a small group, so you are also welcome to open your mic and ask a question without typing it in the chat if you'd like.
Okay, hearing no questions, I'm going to show you just a couple of other little fun things. Underneath the students' little icon here, their avatar, some fun things that a student can do. Okay, so Jasmine, just a minute, we'll show you how to get the family resources. Here on their homepage, if they click on their avatar, they can, one, go change it at any time that they want to. So it's just a fun thing for kids to do. They can go in, they can choose a different one. It immediately changes. It's a fun thing to do, a fun activity. Go change their avatar. But next to that, you'll also see a profile button. This is a great report for parents because it will give them, and for the student to see their own information, it will show them how many minutes they've read, how many books they've completed, how many pages they've read, when they've read, before school, in school, after school, over the weekend. It'll give that information. It will show the last 6 books that they read. It will also show what they're reading, if it's a nonfiction or fiction, and then the types of books in that nonfiction and fiction range. It will also show what their reading range choices are. Are they always choosing books that are below, or are they mostly choosing books on target? So as we teach students to try to choose books that are on target, it would give them that information and then how many books that they're accessing above. This is a printable document. So if students access it at school, they could print it out to take home. We used to use this a lot of times to go along with parent-teacher conferences. It was a great conversation piece. One, it gave them some information to the parents about where their students were on reading, but it also then could open up the conversation about how they have access to this tool from home. So that kind of is that piece. I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Darryl so you can share with them where those resources are for them on the Nevada State Portal.
Okay. Can we all see my screen?
Yes.
Great. So right now I'm on the home page for the Nevada Department of Education, and this is one way to access the resources. If you just Google Nevada Department of Education, you'll be taken right here to this home page, and you'll find the Read Nevada button. This is probably my favorite way to access the materials. So if I click there, it will take you to our Read Nevada page. And on this page, you see an overview and a link to just an overview for MyON Reader, and then this whole section of resources for families. So the way that we've designed this area is specifically designed with families in mind. And then the resources here are specifically designed for educators and school districts. Not that you can't access both, but for families, these resources are really designed with families in mind. So if you go here to the first hyperlink, family resources, it will take you to this page. This is a page that I think is nice if you are hosting a back to school night or a family literacy night, for example, because it has brief videos by grade band that introduce parents to MyON. So if your parents are new to MyON, this is just a really nice way to provide an introduction. And these videos are available in both English and Spanish. So we have them divided into PK1, elementary, and secondary. So depending on the level you teach, you have a choice here. Also, sometimes parents have children at a variety of grade levels. So you can also show them, if you have, if you're an elementary teacher, but you also have high schoolers, you might want to take a look at the secondary video and think about the resources that are available to the students or your children in other age groups as well. Okay, so if I go back here and I click on resources and tips, you'll also find this one pager. This one pager is really nice because it hyperlinks to a variety of documents. So handouts and tip sheets, the first one is what is MyON, and you can find the English version on the left-hand side, and you can access the Spanish version on the right-hand side. So you can provide a link to parents, or you can also download them and print them. So you have several options. I like the parent and family guide. I'm going to take us there for just a minute. If I click there, you get this really nice guide. It provides some getting started directions. I don't want to make you dizzy, but it gives you some pictures that you can share with share with families. It walks families through recommended, how to browse, how to search. Then if I go back, I want to also show you this family reading activities guide. It's just a nice guide of family reading activities, lots and lots of ideas for parents. Again, it's available in English and Spanish, lots of different things that they can do. This is a really nice one as well, family reading tips. Lots of ways to bond with kids over books, how to establish reading routines for young children, for example, how to encourage independent reading. So if you look at these, you can also take bits and parts out of these that apply to your grade level that you teach and put them into your own newsletters as well. Okay, and then finally, you might want to access this frequently asked questions page. As parents pose questions, this is a place that they can go and where you can go to also find lots of answers to the questions they might have. I also want to take a minute to direct you to our portal. So if I go all the way back over here, we've looked quite a bit at the resources for families, but I also want to remind you of the resources, since quite a few of you today are also educators as well, the resources for you as an educator that you might want to share out with parents. This is our portal, and when you go there, it looks very busy, but if you look with me now, you'll see how it's organized. We have our resources organized by most appropriate for pre-K. So if you work with young children, these resources are really designed just for pre-K. At the pre-K level, there is a way for students to access using a QR code, so they don't have to enter their credentials, since we know they're early readers and that might pose a difficulty. So the Getting Started pages show how to do that. Then we have resources that really work for all grades here. So this is another way to access those family reading tips. So you'll see the family reading activities page, you'll see the family reading tips page. So we have a way for you to get to documents in multiple places. These are additional resources for faculty and family. And then we update on a regular basis. So right now you'll see we left up our summer reading resources so you could see what was available over the summer. We're into our fall reading resources right now. There's a great reading themes calendar here that families might enjoy. And then you'll also find our book lists. So for example, right now, this is Hispanic Heritage Month through the middle of October. So you can access that book list. In our previous session today, we shared our social emotional book list that relates to the 5 CASTLE competencies, and it links to an Excel spreadsheet with over 1,500 titles related to SEL. And then we also have another book list here for you on just for fun activities. This is one that when families go on break, this links to books with just fun ideas. So a book about cooking and how you might read the book and then cook a fun recipe, or how you could read this particular title and then engage in a really fun science project. So when your students go on break, that is really a great list to access. If you want to put our graphics, the Read Nevada graphics, on your own classroom website or on your school website, we have them available here in a variety of sizes for you. Okay, I'm going to pause there and just see if you have any questions, or if you want me to go back and show you something in particular. I'm going to stop sharing.
And it can be any questions, MyON, any questions that you have at all about MyON, or anything that we can answer for you, we'd be happy to.
Don't be shy. We are a small group, and we are happy to talk to you. Also, I'm going to put into the chat, it's on our webpage, but you know, sometimes when you're in a session like this, you think of a question later. So if you think of a question later, I want to give you my email address so that you can reach out to me. Well, it's not letting me type. All right, I'm going to ask our moderator, Mark Rincon. Mark, would you mind putting into the chat my name and email address so that the group could contact me if they think of a question down the road? Also, do know, I think Judy mentioned this earlier, but if you are planning to host a family literacy night, and you want some assistance, or you want to reach out to us, please do so. I'd be glad to share with you current book lists. I'd be glad to also help you host. So that is something that we can provide for you as well. Thank you, Mark. I see my email there. Okay, let's see. So I think we have a question that's not related to the family resources, but the attendance tracker is the question. The attendance tracker that our moderator, Mark Rincon, has shared with you is just to track your attendance today, so that on your certificate, you can be sure to get credit for the number of hours you participated today in the conference. If you don't fill out the attendance tracker, we might miss some of your attendance today. Okay, with that, I'm going to turn it back to Judy.
Okay. As always, anybody that has, if your school, your classrooms, your administrators, anybody has any questions or needs any support, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to facilitate something specific for your school, whether it be librarian, whether it be classroom teacher, whether it be anybody inside of the school or district that needs support to help implement MyON. We'd be more than happy to do that. So reach out to Darrell, she'll connect with me, we'll get something set up. So thank you so much for attending today. We'll give you a few extra minutes between now and your closing ceremony for the day. And again, if any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. And thank you so much for your attendance.